Been casting all weekend, Papi, all weekend. Alright. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of this first quarterfinals match, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside Gaming. It is Solar. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Gresvan, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss, currently teamless. It's crazy that he's teamless. He deserves to be on a team. He's one of the best Protosses in all of South Korea. It is Classic. Ooh, let's go, Papi. Let's go. Had nothing but ZvPs so far this tournament, but this is the one. It all comes down to this, but we do see the hatch block here from Classic once again being a bit of a nuisance in the face of Solar, as to be expected in this matchup. Smurge, Papi, Smurge, we can never expand. We can never take our naturals. But of course, Zerg players are used to it at this point, and Classic just being a little bit annoying, even forcing some inefficient mining here in the main base with this probe, forcing another drone off the mirror line to deal with this. Back at home, gate expand setup as standard can be. I don't really expect any kind of cheeses from any of these players. We were spoiled a little bit in the morning when Eric was going for 13-12 openers and 12 pools and hatch blocks and all this crazy stuff in the Tenacious Turtle Tussle. Eric is wild. Unfortunately, Solar isn't that kind of player. Dark more so, but Solar not so much. So I don't really expect an early pool or an early gas ever to be taken by Solar in this series. If he does, I'm gonna freak out. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be amazing. But for the most part, Solar, he if he's ever aggressive, it's in the mid game. You know, he would cut drones at a certain point and go for a certain timing attack with roaches, with lings. But he's much more macro oriented. I've said this in the past, but Solar is the most European out of all the Korean players. Like, he's the one that does look at foreign StarCraft a little bit more, and he's a little more macro oriented. I mean, for a long time, he was one of the few Koreans that actually traveled abroad and actually competed in international events. So yeah, he is like influenced by them a little bit more so than the other Korean Zergs. Which is why Solar is actually kind of the odd one out amongst the Koreans. Like, especially a couple of years ago, when you think of the Korean Zergs, you think of Dark, Ragnarok, Rogue, even Su, and all of them are just far more aggressive than Solar. Amongst the best Zerg players in Korea, Solar is just the most standard. You can argue Su a little bit, but even then, you know, Su would have these like roach timing attacks, and he'd just be a macro god in a different way. Ugh. So, yeah, as a result, I'm curious to see how this dynamic plays out. Again, we were going over some of the history earlier, and Classic and Solar do go back and forth in series. They do trade games already. The first Adept going down, but gets 2 drone kills for its troubles. Not too bad, not too bad. Behind this, Classic does go for his Stargate opener. We have an Oracle coming out as well. As to be expected, nothing too fancy here from Classic, but Solar's being very active, and that is the difference here, as Solar's about to be supply blocked even further. But the biggest difference here, as the wall is not a wall, and we do see Lynx just diving in towards that Stalker, forcing the Pulsar Beam to be activated. Oh, I love this here from Solar, just being so annoying. Eventually, the Overlord goes down, but Classic had to work for it. Lynx slips into the main, confirms the second Oracle on the way. But something that we saw in the series between Mondo and Classic is that Classic was the aggressor, and Mondo was just trying to survive. He was fighting to preserve his mineral lines, and he couldn't really exert any pressure on Classic across the map, at least until the mid-game when we saw those bailing run-bys. But until that point, Mondo was stuck at home. Here, the roles are reversing a little bit, where Solar has been able to force Classic to be a little bit more defensive. The Oracles had to stay at home a little bit longer. Finally, they're moving out, but I'm sure Classic wanted to be more active sooner rather than later. Oh, and here we go. The Oracles do activate their beams, but they only get a single drone. Very nice reactions out of Solar to pull back his workers, and also great positioning from his queens as well to dish out that damage on that first Oracle, already in the red. Meanwhile, Solar behind this, he's also keeping up with the Oracle, slipping in between his bases. There we go, nice movement. We do have a couple more queens headed towards that natural base as well. Despite the fact that we don't have a Spore here, we are safe and sound with these 3 queens. And Solar from here is going to be droning and taking his Roach Warren. Oh my god, we even we even have a flanking queen coming off of creep. Very bold move. Meanwhile, Classic is getting his 3rd up and running, has been able to successfully defend, is going to be keeping 1 Oracle back at home. His Adepts are going to be threatening those mineral lines as well. Can't really commit though, we have plenty of links to keep up. And we're just going to keep on droning from here. Ooh, a little bit unfortunate that we go with that Eva Chamber, but it does get thrown down. Stays strapped into the main, does get spotted immediately by Solar. Oh, ooh. Only getting 1 drone in total. Nicely done. Oh. And from here, I thought we were going to see another stage trap. From here, Solar honestly hasn't really sustained too many losses. And this is the difference between the caliber of player of Solar and Mondo. Let's look at the units lost tab. 3 drones. Only 3 drones have gone down this game. The Lings once again pressuring across the map. These Oracles have had a really hard time finding damage. The Adepts as well. Solar has just been all over this. And as a result, Solar, he's ahead in the worker count. He's getting his 4th base already, and Classic just hasn't had the freedom to do so. But he's still being aggressive. He's moving out here with his Stalkers. Blink and +1 is going to finish up in a couple of seconds. His goal here is to deny the 4th. But mate, we got a Roach Ravager army waiting for him. At the same time, we have a Ling counterattack, but the wall is a wall. We do have reinforcements back at home. The Lings don't find any damage, but that's okay because Solar only had to defend his 4th, and he does. He forces Classic back. Oh, he's going to get a queen. Classic getting a little bit more value with these units. Getting the queen is a nice pickoff for our Protoss player. But again, he wanted a little bit more, and he's going to have to be satisfied with what he has. As Solar is saturating his 4 bases, we have an Infestation Pit on the way for Adrenal Glands. There it is. We have our Eva Chambers. We have +1 range. And we even have Solar just diving on top of this army. The Biles, oh, do not quite connect with the Prism. Barely unsieges in time. We do see Solar trying to get a bit of a surround here. Some of his Ravagers are being focused down, but we have so many Roaches. Solar, with his positioning, with his surround, just completely annihilates Classic army, forces him back. Up! Not quite lined up. Biles doing a missing those Oracles. But again, this is a scary moment for Classic because this style, we bring this up all the time. This style from Classic, from Protoss in general, is all about momentum. It's all about getting value, snowballing, just getting a larger and larger Stalker count and keeping them alive over time and having them just gain more and more value over time as well. And for Classic, to lose 12 Stalkers, that's a big deal. That cannot be understated. The amount of resources that have been lost. Thankfully, Classic is already transitioning. He needs to. We're getting into Disruptors. Right now, Classic cannot pull off this mass swarm toss style of Stalkers and Zealots and Archons. It's just not possible anymore after losing so many. He needs to rely on his Disruptors. Meanwhile, we do see a bit of a revelation into the main base. We have eyes on the Hive as it is being morphed in. Honestly, a pretty important scout here for Classic. He's aware that he's going to have to contend against Vipers of all things. Nice pickups here with these Oracles as well. They don't kill any workers, but they do focus down 1 or 2 Ravagers. Very high value pickups. Meanwhile, I was talking about Vipers, and there they are. 2 Vipers are on the way. We have Adrenal Glands as well. Solar, now that he's droned up to 82 workers, he is content to stay at this worker count and focus on his army. And this next push, even though we have Disruptors, we already have the answer to them soon. Solar is going to need time to finish making the Vipers and gather that energy. And there's a small window where Classic can make something happen before the Vipers are ready with their energy. Here we go. Classic pushing on into the 5th base already. Not too much creep here to speak of. Solar's going for a massive counterattack. Right now, just dancing with the Stalker Disruptor army. Oh, 5th base is going to be going down at the same time. Here we go. Solar does commit here. He's pushing in towards a 3rd. And Classic, he recalls. Oh, does recall in time. Still going to be losing some of these workers who do have a defensive Nova. Oh, it does connect with the Roaches and the Banelings, but the Disruptor is going to go down. Was this worth it in the end for Solar? I mean, his economy is still left unchecked. The Banelings are rolling on forward here. They're going to be getting into the mineral line. We do have the yoinks on the Disruptors. Every single Disruptor is going to be going down. I didn't think we had enough army. I didn't think we could pull off those abducts, but we did. The Banelings head towards the fresh mining base of Classic. We do not have a reaction. 6 more probes go down. We're running out of Roach Ravager. Solar is running out of steam. He has to back off. He has to consolidate his army, but the damage has been done. We didn't kill too many probes, unfortunately, but Solar did reset the Disruptor count, and that is huge. 6 Disruptors. In one fight, 6 Disruptors went down. We have 2 left. Only 2. And if I'm not mistaken, the Vipers, they survived. They are still alive. They've topped up with energy. They're ready to go once again for those abducts. And here we go. In comes the Ling Bane, a Roach Ravager. We do have another Nova. Does connect with the majority of those Banelings. Oh, nice target firing though. The Vipers go down. But it doesn't even matter. We still have too much on the ground. Hot pick up there from Classic. He does save both of those last Disruptors in the end, just barely. And he did get another kill on that 5th base. Oh, the Banelings, Buffy, they're getting in. Ooh. Once again, no reaction. 7 more probes go down. Once again, in the middle of a big fight, Solar, he targets his Banelings. He goes for a run by. He connects. Classic, he just can't keep up with everything that's going on. Meanwhile, Solar, he's recognized, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't take this forward hatchery. It's a little bit too difficult. Let me just back it up. Let's expand here towards the north instead. And even though the 5th base is late for Solar, it's still okay because Classic's economy on 4 bases isn't the most amazing thing either. Meanwhile, Solar did lose his Vipers, but he has rebuilt them. 2 Vipers are on the way. They're gathering, sucking on some of those buildings in the natural base. Solar is looking to remax once again. Classic pushing out here. Bold move. We have to be careful not to get surrounded. Solar's getting set up here to try and collapse onto this from 2 angles. We do have some Novas. 1 Nova going off, but oh my god, the Queens, they target fire that Prism. We have the Yoinks and the Disruptors. And that's it. We only have Stalkers remaining. Classic does have a couple more Disruptors on the way here, but can they get here in time? First Nova is merely going to be a zoning Nova. Solar sees the army. He's going to back up. He needs to regather energy on those Vipers. Again, it's all about the Vipers, Poppy, and 22 probes went down. Oh my god. Looks like we may have missed the bailing round by here at the triangular 3rd. But again, Classic just cannot keep up. He lost so much momentum earlier after losing so many Stalkers, and it's just really difficult to come back from that position. Oh, we're going in again. Solar, there's not enough probes, Poppy. Give it more time. The Banelings roll on in. They're going to kill what little is left here in the mineral line. At the same time, Ling run by towards the 4th base. No shield batteries in position. We have the Yoinks. Oh my god, they yoinked right into all those Banelings. Did I say 23 probes? I meant to say 45. 45 workers do go down. The main army for Classic is relatively threatening, to be honest. That's a lot of Disruptors, a lot of potential in this army. But Solar just has to back off and remax. Plus 3 melee is on the way. Classic is all in. The onus is on him to end the game with what he has. And what he has is balls. Disruptors. They need to connect in the most perfect way possible to even have a chance at winning this game. And you know what? They're pretty damn good. 3 Novas all connect. But we have abducts and GG gets called. Solar takes game number 1. With really amazing defense to begin with, the way that he was able to keep up with Classic and minimize his drone losses. Not just that, but also to punish that initial push from Classic as well, as he moved out across the map with the Stalkers to try and deny the 4th base. He did lose a lot of Stalkers in the process, and from that moment, Solar had map control, Solar had the momentum, he had so much freedom to expand and do what he wanted. I say to expand, I mean, sure, Solar did lose, he did lose his 5th, but the 5th didn't matter at that point. It wasn't the most crucial loss there from Solar. And now, we're going to be following this series and getting into game 2. And I should update the score on the screen. There we go. There we go. Vámonos, papi, vámonos. Oh, I see Mondo in the chat. So poor. No, Mondo, no. No. Oh, I messed up. Smudge, Papi Smudge. Ah. A rookie mistake. For those who are wondering what just happened, I tabbed out to type in chat. Fun fact, if you tab out as StarCraft is loading into a game, the game will crash. This is casting 101. There are certain periods where you don't want to be tabbing out of StarCraft, and I broke the rule. No. Ugh. Feels bad, man. Feels bad. So hopefully I can we'll see if they remake. We'll see if they do remake and they let me back in. Otherwise, we may have to go on a break. No, we're gonna miss out on game 2. Oh god. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. No. But yeah, it looks like, I mean, yeah. Feels bad, man. So we're gonna be cutting to a break here. Yeah, we're gonna be cutting to a break. Unfortunately, we're gonna be missing out on game 2. Hopefully we can get a game 3 and we can get in there. Otherwise, yeah, we're just gonna be left out. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think we're gonna be left out. We'll see. Do apologize. It was my mistake. You can't tab out at certain points, and I know that. As well. We're gonna be going for a short break. When we return, hopefully we'll have another series. Hopefully. Oh my god. Immortal?
Immortal gonna get
Wait,
taken out for 3?
What?
No.
It survived?
Yep. Living up to its name.
It's on 4 HP. It has no right to live, but somehow the Immortal survives. The SCV finished him off. It's got 1 kill. The SCV killed the Immortal.
That is a cinematic goddamn shot.
Oh my god.
SCV atop of a pile of Immortal. Jesus.
Like, that SCV deserves a medal, but like no one's gonna live to tell the tale. Like, no one's gonna be able to survive long enough to let everyone know that that SCV was a hero.
This Overlord, though, if the Overlord positioned to the north of Papa Panda Space catches a Mutus, that could give it ample time for Nubinator to react. But I think even with the, like, yeah, they are going to see their Mutus, but I think he just slows down the Hydroden, right, at this stage.
No, here's the thing. Papa Panda is showing the Mutalisks, and now they're making Roaches, so the Roaches are going to be the surprise.
God, that's actually wild. I love that.
This is insane.
It's beautiful.
I remember you looking very differently, but you know, I'm not judging.
Yeah, the camera adds £5, even though last time you saw me was with the camera as well. But
why would the camera pay you? See what I did there? Yeah.
European humor. Hey, lad, do you know why it's got 2,000 atmospheres?
Why is it called 2,000 atmospheres, Chase?
Because it's under the sea and there's 2,000 atmospheres of pressure.
But I believe they have their own like studio or like kind of complex where they have all their players rock up and stuff, and it's cool that they do support Ranger the way that they do. yeah, a lot of the C players. It's cool that they were able to find that support.
Yep. Little community, but very tight knit. It's the best. I love you, like.
I wasn't expecting that. I apologize for cutting the duct tape short, but we are back. Thankfully, shout out to the players. Shout out to the players. They did remake the game, remake the lobby, and we are back into game number 2. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Onside Gaming, currently leading the series 1-0. It is Solar. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Brodos representing himself, his land, his home, his country. It is Classic. But yeah, shout out to shout out to the players. They did decide to remake the game once they realized that I did leave. So thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Much love to be had. I felt so bad, Papi. Like that hasn't happened to me in years. That hasn't happened to me in years, Papi. For those who don't know, there's a lot of little quirks when it comes to StarCraft, and one of them is that as you are loading into a custom game, as the countdown is going down, and if you tab out as the countdown hits 0, which means the game is transitioning from out of game into the in-game like client's lobby, like the game itself, the game will crash. The game will straight up crash, and that isn't like something that happens to me. It happens to everyone. It happens to all the casters. Everyone knows about it. Everyone knows that this is when you don't tab out. And I wasn't thinking, and I did it by accident. I'm usually hyper aware of that sort of thing. I'm usually very careful whenever I tab out of StarCraft while casting. So yeah, that's just a fun fact for you. Fun facts, good. Indie game, Papi. Indie game. You know how it is. You know how it is. Shaking my head. So yeah, with that, we're getting into game number 2 here. So, game 1 was pretty intense. Solar was all over it. I know that the kind of momentum was kind of taken out of me a little bit because we had that bit of a technical hiccup, but game 1 was insane. How Solar was able to again deflect any kind of aggression overall and assert himself the way that he did, go for the constant baneling run by, shut down the army, tech into Hive as quickly as he did when he needed to get into those Vipers. Very, very smooth gameplay from Solar. Classic. He's gonna have to try something a little bit different here if he wants to get a handle on this series and come back and take it to the ace match. But here we go. First adept, gonna be shading on in, not really designed to get too much damage, just a scout, confirming no 2-base all in, confirming no additional gas is being taken. It does commit to the shade to try and pick off a drone if possible. Oh, we'll get one drone. Ooh, only one drone though. Unfortunately, there was some awkward body blocking there, and we were unable to save that one worker. Sol was trying, but not enough room for another spore. Oh. So not bad damage here from Classic, just confirming the opener and making sure that he is safe to get into his own standard opener as well. Speaking of, the first Oracle is staying at home and making sure that Classic is safe to expand. The Lings are trying to bait out a Pulsar Beam. Dancing with Death. We have that third base in the end. I see Roundbacks in the chat. Frame perfect poggers. In a way, sure, yeah. I hit a frame perfect tab out. Let's go. Ay. Not like this, Papi. Not like this. Ling's gonna be looking to surround this Adept. The Adept is gonna be going down. Not too bad here of a run by, but at the same time, Classic is focused across the map. He does get one of the transferring workers. He dives on top of the Queen. Not enough energy for transfuse, but the DPS is just too damn high. Classic doesn't commit. Oh, but there's no Spore here in the main base either, so 4 drones go down in total. Not bad damage here from Classic. Much better start for him compared to game number 1, but as the Oracles are spending their energy, we have Solo going for another Ling run by 4 Adepts to defend, though. These Lings are going to have a hard time finding any damage. We don't commit to the Shade either. So Classic definitely having a bit of a better performance so far. We'll see if he can keep it up. He's now up to 3 Oracles looking to go in. At the same time, we have 4 Adepts on the right-hand side of the map as well, looking to shade into either the natural or the third. The Classic with the multi-pronged aggression. We do see him just diving on top of the Queen of all things. The Queen is going to be going down, and next will be the Workers, but no, the Workers are barely saved. The Queens rotate from the natural. At the same time, Adepts are looking to shade on in, but Lings are here ready to meet them. Oh, we don't quite commit though. Do force a reaction out of Solar. Does bait him out. Adepts threatening a shade in towards that third base. But Classic doesn't want to risk it. He doesn't want to throw anything away. He will be backing off for the time being and transitioning back at home. We have a +1 on the way alongside Blink and the Robo. So very reminiscent to the first game. Very reminiscent indeed. I think the biggest difference is that Classic this time invested a little bit more into the Adept Harass. This does slow down Blink and +1. It did slow it down a little bit. Ooh, as actually, he's not going to be aggressive at all. Again, we saw this a couple of weeks ago between Hero and Dark. And Dark abused this horribly. And this is all going to get scattered, by the way. So a couple of things are happening. Usually, when you go for a triple Oracle into Blink Stalker builds as a Protoss player, usually you're hyper aggressive and you're just in the face of the Zerg with all of your Stalkers, you know, just like trading with Queens, trading with Roaches and Ravagers, picking off whatever you can, denying bases. Classic, though, is investing quite heavily into tech. He's got a second Robo on the way and a Robotics Bay as well. He's going to be getting into double Disruptor or double Colossus production. Because of this, he's pretty passive. He's going to be a lot more defensive. He is intentionally skipping Warpins. He's skipping Stalker Warpins in favor of being able to afford all this tech. Up! Oh my god! But we get a massive stasis trap going off. Solar playing with fire, trying to focus down the Oracle, but he doesn't get it. Oh my god, no! And again, another stasis in the main base. Despite the passivity of a Classic, he is slowing down the economy. I was going to say that typically to respond this, a response to this is to just drone up as heavily as possible. This time the Oracle is going to go down. Drone up, take a 4th, take a 5th, take up the Hive. Oh my god. The stasis traps are insane. But that's how Dark Day will deal with it. And by the time Hero had a standing army, Dark was maxed out 200 supply. It was crazy. But we do see Classic pushing out with his first 2 Colossus. He wants to be aggressive. Solar's response was to go into Aspire. He's going into Mutas right now. We do have a flock of Mutas out on the map. 7 Mutas in total, just going to be avoiding the army. But this is pretty beefy. We've got our Stalkers, we've got +1, we've got some Colossi. And we don't really have that much on the ground, to be honest. Solar's in some trouble right now. He's going for a Muta counterattack. His Lings turn back around for us around. We have an aggressive Ling on forward. The Queens are pulling left and right. And I think Solar's been caught with his pants down. The Roach army is going to be crumbling here across the map. The Lings, they're on A move. They're not really doing much of anything. The Mutas come in a little bit too late. They're trying to get on top of that Prism. But everything goes down. A Classic hitting with this double Colossus timing. GG gets called. Classic ties up the series 1-1. Those Mutas tell us one thing and one thing only. Solo thought it was going to be Disruptors. Solo thought it was going to be a Disruptor follow-up instead, which is a little bit slower, a little bit less aggressive. I think he thought that that Classic was going to be a little bit more passive as well. We saw Solo just droning and investing into those Mutas. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it also came down to that insane stasis trap that went off. Ay, ay, ay. We have a series. We have an ace match. Let's go, Papi. Let's go. Vámonos. And yeah, we'll see how this whole ends. Classic has been mixing things up here. Last game as well, we saw his harassment was doing a lot more damage. Whether he was killing drones or catching them in stasis traps, Classic was on fire. And oh boy, Solar was having yeah, some rough decision making, to be honest. Like, he had the option to avoid that that stasis trap if he wanted to, but he believed that he could kill that Oracle in time and just misjudged the situation a little bit in the end. Oof. An entire mineral line going down. Or being stasis. It's brutal. It's brutal. Here we go. We're now getting into game number 3. The ace match. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Babylon, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing on Side Gaming. It is Solar. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Babylon, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing himself, tying up the series 1-1 in that last game. It is Classic. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. We have a series here. We are going to the ace match. And this could still go either way. Solar being caught with his pants down, being caught going into mutas. When, of course, he needed anything but mutas in that situation. He really wasn't expecting a Colossus push to come out from Classic at that time. And Solar just didn't really have too much of a standing army. But that was then, and this is now. And now, we're on Babylon. We are on Babylon. We do see, once again, some pretty standard openers. Hatch gas pool coming out from Solar. Classic just trying to be as annoying as possible with this probe. Trying to force some inefficient mining. Every game so far, even though Classic has had different follow-up variations, he has gone for the Stargate. Here on Babylon, would we see him mix things up and go for a Twilight Council? I don't think this is a bad map for a Twilight Council, to be fair. I think it's horrible, but yeah, I don't think Classic necessarily needs to switch things up that much and be that aggressive. It is within his repertoire. Like, he has been known to go for Twilight Council openers and be hyper aggressive, especially in a long series. In a best of 3 against Solar, maybe not going to be the wisest choice, especially because Solar is one of the more defensive players out there. Catching Solar unawares with Glaive Adepts with some kind of all-in or committed timing, it can be difficult, especially when it comes to the early game, the early to mid game. There we go. There we have it. Classic, once again, going for the Classic, the Stargate opener. Every game so far, without fail. Without fail. And we should be seeing that Oracle first as well. Behind this, Solar just, taking his hatcheries as to be expected, droning up as well. The dynamic here in Solar ZvP is, it's not, I mean, his play isn't too dynamic. He's been going for the same overall openers. From here, he can, have some different tech paths. We saw him, again, try to go into mutas last game, and I appreciate the variation that Solar tried to mix in. But alas, there's a time and a place for that sort of thing. That was not the time nor the place. Meanwhile, the first adept slips into the main base. Ooh, one drone is going to be going down. Can we get a second? The adept is going to be able to shade out towards the natural, regather, regenerate those shields, and dip back in. Meanwhile, across the map, Solar is just parked at that third base location, waiting for Classic to go in. He did dip in with his Overlord as well, did confirm the Stargate. Does also spot the Oracle as it moves out. So Solar is aware. Going to be forcing a slight delay on this third base. Forces the probe back for a little bit, but it does get down in the end. A couple more Lings are going to be threatening this, but there are only 3 Lings. I mean, this is already some nice inadvertent damage from Solar. He forces a delay, and he also forces the first Oracle to stay at home as well. But we all know that the real power of Oracles comes from the second Oracle once it joins the fray. That's what we are just waiting for. And here we go. The queens are getting into position. We have a Spore at the third. We have a Spore in the main. No Spore at the natural, though. So Solar has to be a little bit careful with his army movement and keep an eye on those oracles. Adepts are threading a shade into the natural base. Lings are late to respond. Uh-oh. Drones are pulled back, and the oracles are looking to dive on in. They want those juicy workers. The queens are getting into position, though. They do fend off those oracles. No way in. So only 2 drones going down so far. So I spoke too soon. The oracles find some transferring workers. They dip into the third, but for the cost of an oracle. Not a good trade from Classic. He dives in once again. He really wants to get some value out of these oracles, but he's got to be careful. He's got to respect the queens. 6 drones for an oracle, not the best trade. I want to say that's slightly in favor of Solar, just because oracles, you want to get a little bit more value out of them. At the same time, we do have a bit of a link counterattack, but the wall is a wall. We are safe and sound. Standard follow-up, by the way, we do have +1 and Blink on the way here. This time, we haven't really invested too heavily into the Adepts. Oh my god, there's still no Spore! Jesus. Still no Spore at this natural. 4 more drones go down. We do get one of those oracles, though. So I still think this is okay for Solar, to be honest. Here we go. 4 Adepts threatening to shade into the natural. They commit? Question mark? Not the best shade here, but the Lings are a little bit busy across the map. Wow, they get into the mineral line, and there's nothing here. There's no shield battery, no Adepts. 17 probes go down. Oof. There's a lot of onus on these Adepts to do damage right now, and they will get some workers, but it's not enough. The entire mineral line. Jesus. And now Solar is going for the 1-2 punch. We've got Roaches on the way. We've got Ravagers. The Oracles are going to see this, but we only have 1 Oracle left. We lost 2 earlier. There's not that much. Oh my god, can we drop the queens? Up! Oh, 2 queens go down in the Dropper Lord. Massive pickup here for Creature? What? For Classic. Creature's not here. Oh my god, the Biles are going to be connecting. These shield batteries are not going to be finishing whatsoever. The Stalkers are trapped between these mineral patches. Oh, and they just get biled one after another. The third base is about to be broken. Classic losing too much too quickly. Again, a lot of this coming down to the fact that he lost his oracles to begin with, the mineral line as well. And he was once again transitioning very quickly into these disruptors, into the double Robo and Robotic Spade. GG gets called, and Solar takes game number 3 and the series. Oh, GG. This time, Classic is the player caught being too greedy, cutting too many corners. I was talking about this last game. He basically did the same thing 2 games in a row. In game 3, he cut corners, he skipped warp ins, and he prioritized a second Robo and a Bay for disruptors. And as a result, there's a window where, because he's skipping out on warp ins, he doesn't really have a big army. And because he did it 2 games in a row, Solar was able to recognize what was going on and to punish it as well. GG, well played. And with that, Solar is going to be taking the series and moving on to the semi-finals. Beautiful, beautiful. GG, well played. Oh, and with that, does he have an opponent waiting for him? Let's find out. Oh. Oh, he does. It looks like Beyond versus Creator is they're about to get into game number 2. Oh, let's just switch over our scenes here so we can just catch everyone up on what has been going on.